Hey everybody, I'm Angela Walters. Welcome to this week's live chat. Thank you for joining me every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central, where I come live and we talk about quilting, I answer your questions live, and we just have a generally good time. And if you have a little bit more time, you can log on to the video a half hour before I go live and we type chat, and I love chatting with everybody on there as well. So lots of ways you can participate. I hope you missed me last week. I missed you all. I was actually on vacation, well, kind of like a workcation. I went to Ridgecrest, California and got to teach at a guild, took my husband and daughters, went to LA, saw some weird stuff, but I'm glad to be home and I hope that everybody's doing well and having fun, and we're gearing up for a really productive, busy June. First of all, exciting news. If you have purchased the panel or any of the custom exclusive products for the upcoming Free Motion Fillers, Free Motion Challenge Quilting Along, we are beginning to ship. This is such good news. So I have to tell you, I have a great staff that cuts everything, that packages it, that mails it. It definitely takes a whole village to launch a challenge. So I thought it'd be fun to do a little kind of unboxing. So if you ordered any of the products I was talking about, first of all, I want to say thank you. All the videos are free because I want them to be accessible to everyone. I know machine quilting is scary, and I feel like by keeping the barrier low, there's less excuse not to try it. But I do sell those products to help monetize it and help allow me to continue to do it. So if you've purchased anything from my website, whether it's other products or anything, I really appreciate that. That definitely helps. So first of all, each kit comes with a little instruction sheet. So this is something I started a few challenges ago, a little bit more professional than your printed paper. So I love kind of seeing that little bit on top. And then of course the panel. Now you can quilt on anything you have laying around, but I'll be demonstrating on the exclusive panel. And I'll have to tell you, I'm not going to open the whole thing up, but it's really fun getting to plan a class and have a panel that fits it perfectly. It's kind of like I get to control the whole experience for you, whether you're quilting on other things or this, and I think it just allows me to teach in a better way. So that, but for the first time, brand new, well, we've had border panels before, but for the first time, we have the capability to quilt on 60-inch wide fabric. Ooh, look at that. You know what that means. If any of you have purchased borders from me before, you know that sometimes you have to piece a couple of those. No piecing the borders. You just cut these puppies out and you just zing them on there. I'm going to be doing a little video that will show you how to do it. It's very, very easy, but you'll check that out. And then, of course, the backing kit if you want that. Backing fabric, I just, once we got the ability to produce our own fabric, I kind of went nuts with the designing stuff. But in addition to the challenge panel, and this is not related to the challenge, but kind of, is the Westward fabric collection. Now, I kind of showed you this on a past live chat, and it's really fun creating such cute little prints that coordinate with the panel just for fun. And you can create some really cool quilts out of this. And I have one, spoiler alert, I'm going to show you here in a second. Another thing I started recently, and I know I've chatted about this before, but I think starting when you're practicing machine quilting, it can be very intimidating. And I know we were type chatting about that before it started, like how do you get started, what designs you use. I think practicing on smaller pieces is great, but eventually you have to practice on something a little bit bigger. So my panels are about 40 by 50, and that's just a really good size to get your feet wet, kind of get the idea of moving the fabric around, doing the old smush and push, like I like to say. But if that just seems too intimidating for you, you're like, I want to quilt along on something related, but I don't want something that big. Well, I started making pillow panels, and these are just smaller little guys. How cute is that? Where you can try out some of the designs. And so I won't be demonstrating on this, but definitely a smaller option for those of you that are a little bit more hesitant. Like I said, I want to make this as easy as possible for you to tiptoe into machine quilting because it is so fun. And the last few challenges, I've put together what I call quilting training wheels or training wheels for quilters. And this is this challenge's training wheel. How cute is that? So I've designed the print so that you can make a quilt sandwich and you can quilt right along the lines and get practice with your swirls or your wishbone. It's really difficult to learn a new design if you don't know where to go. If you don't know where you're going, you will never get there. So having those training wheels gives you a path to follow. And when you're done, you have a beautiful whole cloth quilt that you can either hang on the wall and admire or put in your doggy bed. Either one is fine. So like I said, those are all shipping, which is great because the challenge is starting soon. I'll talk about that here in a second. But if you have ordered, just be patient. It's on its way. And again, I have a great staff that makes that happen. So for this live chat, I just want to let you know about some things that are going on, upcoming things, nothing too detailed. Next week is where we kind of really get into the class-like structure of our live chats. But if you are watching live right now and you have a general question about free motion, or any question really, you can put it in the type chat, and Jessica, my awesome sister-in-law, director of operations, right hand, compadre and all things life-driven, is here writing them down, and she'll hand them to me so I can answer them live. So perfect way to ask that burning question you've been wanting to know. Anyway, so real quick, let me switch over to our pictures. I have been busy this summer. I know that summers are busy for everybody, and so I think it's important to, take time for yourself. But I had the opportunity to actually go to Missouri Star and film with Jenny Doan for an episode on her tutorial, her YouTube channel. So it's kind of like what the youngsters call a collab. We did a collab video, and it was so much fun. I wish I had footage of us just hanging out. She is as nice as she seems on videos. She is so funny, and we just zing, 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 just get along great. And so she wanted to use one of my quilt patterns, the All Roads Quilt pattern, and wanted to show how to make it. So you got to check it out. It's a lot of fun. Even as I watched it, I was kind of giggling over, just the stuff that we said. And I'm like, man, I just opened my mouth and it all came out. So it was really, really fun. And so you should check that out. And for that, I did the All Roads pattern. Just let me show you some little behind the scenes pictures because she's just too cute. We were trying to take a selfie, and she's like, I don't know how to do selfies. And I said, well, my daughter said you have to angle it. So we angled it, and sure enough, it did look good. Hold on, I skipped ahead. Filming, got to see her beautiful studio. And then, I don't want to brag, but I'm going to brag a little bit. She gave Jessica and I like an exclusive tour, like behind the scenes. I got to see her studio. I know where she lives, y'all. I won't tell you, but she drove us by her house. So it was just a great time to get to do that. And that video just came out earlier last week. And so real fun just to see how things happen and have a good time with it. And like I said, we were featuring the All Roads quilt. So this quilt pattern is so easy. When you watch the video, you might be like, dang, that's so easy. It's just half square triangles and a couple extra pieces. And you can only get the pattern on my website or Missouri Star. So if you want to try it out, it's a great way to show off your fabric, and it really goes together pretty quick, and it's lots of fun to quilt as well. So when I was kind of putting together the promotion for, this week's live chat and All Roads, I thought, oh, I should redo All Roads in the Westward fabric collection, since that's brand new, just to kind of give you an idea of what it looks like. And we do have a kit available for the All Roads using the Westward fabric collection. If you need any information about anything you see on here, just click the link in the description box below. You'll find that. So how fun is that quilt with the bright teals and the reds, the cherries? But you can see how it just really shows off your fabric. So I know I'm not supposed to gush because it's my pattern, but they're like my kids, so I'm super proud of this one. And I was kind of touched that Jenny loved it as much as I do. And what's really cool about this pattern, again, I will stop going on and on, but you can use so many different layouts because each of those blocks, it's just on a grid. So you can rotate, you can flip them around, you can come up with some really fun examples. And here you can see just two different layouts. The one on the left is the one on the cover, and the one on the right is just a little bit different. And so it's just a fun way to show off your fabrics and experiment with your quilt creation skills, switching things up and making stuff a little bit more custom for you. So again, if you're interested in that, you can click the link in the description box below for the kit or the pattern, or just to learn more about it. In the video with Jenny, we kind of joke that it's a nice bigger quilt, and it's great for, cuddling up on the couch or, sitting next to your honey and having fun with it. In fact, I decided, since Quilt Walk is coming up, talk about that in a second, I was going to give away that quilt to one lucky winner that comes to the Quilt Walk. So I know most of you cannot make it to Kansas City, Missouri, or Liberty is actually where we're at. Liberty is a suburb of Kansas City. But if you are, you will have the opportunity to win the All Roads quilt that was featured in her episode. So I was joking in the video that all roads lead to Hamilton, and Hamilton is only 45 minutes from us. I mean, it's a quick, easy drive. Jessica and I talked the whole time, and it just flew by. So if you're coming to Missouri Star or you're driving through the heart of the U.S., stop by and see us. But if you can be here next Saturday for Quilt Walk, you can actually win that quilt. Now, I know you guys, if you have been listening to any of my previous chats, you might be like, oh my gosh, I'm tired of hearing about Quilt Walk. Well, guess what? It's next weekend. I'm freaking out a little bit. It's next weekend, so soon I will stop talking about it. But Quilt Walk is kind of an event that our shop put together with help with the downtown historic Liberty area. We are on such a charming downtown square, and I wanted all the quilters to see all the other cute little shops that are around while having quilts and kind of letting us quilt bomb the town a little bit. So this quilt right here is the exclusive pattern for the Quilt Walk. So every year I design a pattern just for the Quilt Walk, and you go to each of the little shops and you get your block pattern, and this is Parade. So this is the quilt pattern featuring Tula Pink's True Colors fabric collection, and you can get the pattern for this at Quilt Walk. So again, if you're in the area, I know not everybody is, but June 18th, all you have to do is stop by the shop between 10 and 3 or 4, one of those times, I think it's 3, and grab the map, and then you can run around and have fun with it. So again, very, very excited. And for the first time, I'm going to have a featured guest, none other than Tula Pink. I am super excited to, have her come into our town and meet everybody, and she's going to be doing demos and a meet and greet. It's going to be a blast. So again, if you can make it, great. If not, no worries. Besides Quilt Walk and besides filming with Jenny, we kind of have a big thing starting up pretty soon. June 21st is the beginning of our next free motion challenge Quilting Along, and it really makes my heart so happy when I'm type chatting or reading the comments and seeing how many people love the video series, love the free motion challenge Quilting Alongs, love learning how to love machine quilting as much as I do. So I appreciate you watching them and giving me support that way. It's so awesome. And this challenge is going to be kind of like a sampler platter of all of my favorite free motion filler designs. I can't wait to. My mind is kind of like rolling with all the things I want to share. I've got to kind of pare it down so I don't overwhelm everybody, but it's going to be a great time. So if you are excited about trying that, June 21st is when the first video launches. You can check out my previous live chat to see a little bit more about how that works. But I just want to take a second and just kind of speak to you real quick. I know that it's summertime and real life gets in the way. Unfortunately, there's people in my house that want to eat every day. I'm like, I just fed you yesterday. I don't know I have to do this again. Although I'm kind of joking because they're getting old enough to be self-sufficient. But I get it. Like, there's just demands on our time, and especially during the summer. If you're not available to carve out that time to do the challenge now, it's no worries. It will stay on my YouTube channel indefinitely, and you can go check it out at a later time. But if you can, just carve out a few minutes for yourself every day to quilt along with us. It's going to make it, I think, a little bit more enjoyable because you can do it with other people. Our brains will try difficult stuff if we don't have to do it ourselves. Have you noticed that? Like, I see it in my classes all the time. Somebody's like, oh, let's try machine quilting. You come with me. It just makes it better if you do it with somebody else. So anyway, if you can, if not, no worries. And I want to show you when we got all the fabric. This is the panel with the borders on it. I got to be honest with you. When we send everything to print and we come in, I get all the stuff. I always make it, and my fingers are just crossed that everything works great. Good news, everything works great. So I think it's kind of fun to see that in the actual piece. And that's what I'll be quilting along and showing you how to create these designs on this with the borders. All right, so one of the questions that came up in a previous live chat was, can you take this panel and put them together? And yes, you can. That was actually my husband Jeremy's brainchild of an idea. He said, wouldn't it be cool if you could design a panel that can be pieced together to make a bigger one? I was like, ooh, a challenge accepted. So after we got our shipment in, I went ahead and did that. So this is 2 of the panels put together. This is kind of on the other side of those that want the pillow panels. There's those that want the smaller thing to practice, and there's some of us that want a quilt that's a little bit bigger. The challenge quilts are 40 by 50. If you put borders on, like 45 by 55. But if you want something to actually cuddle up underneath, great option here. You can combine them together. So this is just 2 of the panels put together, and you're looking at kind of like 50 by 80. I might trim the length down a bit because it's pretty long, but nice bigger quilt that's going to look stunning on your couch or whatever. But wait, there's more. If you imagine that whole strip, you can turn it and put 2 of them together and make basically a huge quilt. It's going to be like 80 by 100. It's going to be nice and big bed size. And so I don't know, I'm kind of thinking about quilting this up and putting it on our bed. I don't know, it's kind of fun. I still have the original quilt from forever ago. My very first quilt I ever made is still on our bed. And it's looking a little ragged, and its color does not really match my preferences now. So it's probably time to switch that out. So anyway, you can use the panels to create bigger quilts if you want. Or, like I said, you can use whatever you have lying around. Ultimately, just join us and try the designs, and you'll find some that you love, some that you don't love as much, and you're going to have a fun time with it. Just a reminder, here is the schedule that we'll be working with. So each week a video tutorial will come out about a different type of filler. So we'll kind of touch on circles or pebbles, swirls, geometric, and curvy, pointy, and wavy fillers. So a nice assortment of designs that even if you pick out a handful of them, you'll have a great toolbox that will work on a lot of different quilts. When I did the trunk show in Ridgecrest last week, I kind of joked, if you really look at the quilts, I'm not using a ton of different designs. I'm just using them in different ways. So the good news is you don't have to learn 5 million designs to quilt your quilt tops. Learn how to quilt a swirl, learn how to quilt another type of geometric design, and really you're good to go. So you can kind of look at it like a buffet of designs that you can pick and choose what it is that you want to work with. So I'm very, very, very excited about that. Excited and a little scared. Every time we launch this, I'm always like, ah. So I was laying in bed last night thinking through all this stuff. But I hope that you love it as much as I do. Real quick, I meant to show this earlier. Look at this cute little Quilt Walk bag. So if you do come to the Quilt Walk, the first, while supplies last, you'll get a custom little Quilt Walk bag to keep your block patterns in and a free coupon to the downtown area. So kind of exciting about that. So a lot of stuff going on in June. Let's talk about next week. Next week's live chat on Thursday, 3 p.m. Central, you know the time. I'm going to be talking about how to pick fillers for your quilts. So in the type chat, this kind of came up and it was like, what do you do when you blank out? How do you pick designs? Well, what's great about fillers or any quilting designs, they create different effects. So if you can look at a quilt and say, ooh, I want to add texture, or I want to add movement, or I want to add interest, you can use that as a direction to then pick out a design. So I'll kind of give you a little bit of motivation to get started on your quilts, tell you how to pick out the designs, and that will lead us right into the first video of the Free Motion Challenge where we will talk about circle designs. So very excited about next week. Make sure you're here and getting your questions ready. Speaking of questions, any questions? Jessica's over there writing. I can see her like writing real fast. Being able to answer these questions live, I think, is what makes it feel interactive. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time out of your day, whether you're at work or not. I saw some of you on the type chat saying you're at work. No judgment here. So taking your time out of your day to hang out with me, and I hope that you enjoy it as much as I do. It's too much fun. I realize I like talking just as much as I like quilting, so this just like feeds my soul. All right, question, do you have to register for the Quilt Walk? No, you just show up, come to the shop, you'll get a map and the finishing instructions on how to make the quilt, and then you'll get to go to each of the little stops, see the exhibits. I'm gonna have an English paper pieced quilt exhibit, a painted quilts exhibit, sampler quilt exhibit, and we know the crowning jewel of it all, the Tula Pink quilts exhibit. Since she lives about an hour away, I'm gonna drive up to her house tomorrow, grab those quilts. I can't wait to see what she picks because her house is like a quilt museum. I mean, all the quilts that we've done together, I can't even begin to count them. So I can't wait to see what she pulls. It's going to be stuff that maybe is older or newer or stuff you haven't seen as much. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm not answering the question you asked. No, you don't have to register for Quilt Walk. It's funny because somebody left a comment, there's no information on Quilt Walk. I'm like, you just show up and then you can wander around and get the blocks. So kind of fun. Will we need a ruler to do the geometric fillers? You will not have to have a ruler to do the geometric fillers unless you want one. I'll show kind of how to do it with or without, but these are going to be smaller geometrics, which you can usually freehand, even if you're on a long arm without a ruler. So no special products needed for the challenge. No big deal, just we'll be fine, I promise. What are my thoughts on quilting a Bargello quilt top? Well, I have upstairs hanging outside our bathroom, a Bargello quilt. And when I'm looking at any quilt, and I know you can't see what's in my head, that's probably a good thing, but when you're looking at any quilt, I like to think, what's the most important part? And with Bargellos, oh, that color gradation, I mean, it's so pretty. So I kind of quilt designs that follow that. Now I have done stuff that's a little bit more custom, like feather motifs that go in each of those sections, but it's as simple as doing like a swirl chain or just a swirl that kind of follows that design. In fact, that kind of plays into the idea of having a filler with movements. I will try to remember. I can incorporate that in tomorrow's or next week's live chat. Really, when I look at a Bargello, I'm not looking at the individual blocks. I'm just looking at that flow of color and just using my designs to kind of follow it. It's so, I'm going to say organic. I hate that word, but so organic. It's so fluid. Let's just say fluid. It's so fluid that using quilting that kind of follows that line really helps highlight that beautiful look of it. So that's my thoughts. But guys, I'm only the expert in my opinion. You have to do what you like. I'm intimidated by the FMQ challenge. What experience do I need in making it easier? Here's the deal. And I'm kind of warmed up on this because I just taught, last week, and it's been so great to get back to teaching in person. It's scary because you're good at piecing, usually. Most people come to quilting after most people come to machine quilting after they've been piecing. And so they're good at piecing, and now they're not good at machine quilting, and it sucks to suck. Like, we know it's not fun to not be good at something, but there's that learning process and you kind of come through it. What I would say, in my experience, the people that struggle the least with free motion quilting are not so worried about making mistakes. They're not so worried about looking silly. They're just in it and having fun. And it's always great to kind of see those students in class. They're like, well, I'm going to figure this out. And I'm not saying other people can't. You definitely can. It's just you have to relax and give yourself grace to learn it. So you don't need experience per se, but you do need an open mindset where you're learning something new, something that requires you pushing the pedal and moving the fabric and breathing at the same time, and just know that it's going to come with practice. Now, as far as the experience, this is a good point. My videos are geared towards people that know the basics, like how to drop their feed dogs, how to put their needle in, all that stuff, and start quilting. But maybe I'll try to do a very, very beginner video for this next series so that you can kind of start in on the base floor if you need to. Ultimately, you don't need experience. You just need the open-mindedness to know that you're learning a new thing and it's going to be a process. But I guarantee you stick with me through this, you're going to be so much better at the end than you were when you started. That's probably one of the things I love most about teaching live is from the beginning of the class, there's 6 hours of me talking, of them quilting. The gals in Ridgecrest were great sports. I could tell, it's a lot. I was excited. I was just overwhelming them with all sorts of information. But it's so fun to see just even the progress within that little bit of time. And so know that you can do it and you don't need to have a certain skill set. But that being said, I will put together a easy, beginner, here's the basics of getting started. That was a long answer to your question. I'm sorry. I love talking about that. Can I make individual tutorials for each of my new rulers? Yes. Again, the type chat or the typing when text chat or whatever you would call that before I go live is really where I get most of my ideas for upcoming videos, upcoming live chats, upcoming challenges. I get a lot of input on what gets shown here. So again, if you can join that, I know it's during the workday, so if you can't, no worries. But that came up today. Somebody said, I have 2 of your new rulers and I don't even know where to get started with them. So I was thinking, well, hey, I should do a live chat on each of the rulers. That seems so obvious when you say it out loud, doesn't it? But sometimes I need you guys to tell me the obvious so that I can do it. So yes, I'm thinking about making it not necessarily tutorial. I can do a tutorial, but having it within the live chat so that you can ask questions live. And so maybe demoing that. So that will probably be after the challenge. So probably you're looking end of July, but that will be the next thing we go over because I'm super proud of the new rulers and all the fun stuff they do. And I can't wait to show you all the fun things that they do. They do. All right, so thank you so much for joining me. I hope if you liked this video or any of my live chats or any of that free content I put out there, I hope you'll give the video a thumbs up or subscribe. That just helps other quilters find me as well. And I look forward to seeing you next week where we really start with how do we pick designs? How do we get started? How do we get going on this thing called machine quilting? Because it's a lot of fun. And then the week after that, then we'll get started live chats. We'll just follow the free motion challenge. So looking forward to it. Again, if you have purchased any of the products from my website for the challenge, thank you so much for your support. Be looking for an email in your inbox coming up really soon saying that your order has shipped. And I cannot wait to see you next week. Until then, everybody stay safe, have a great time, and happy quilting.